Hi students, how are you all? Again I'm back to connect you all through online classes. In the previous video we learned about a brief introduction about life process, and in this video you're going to learn about the next part of life process, that is nutrition. Okay students, in your lower classes you have already learned about what is nutrition, but once again with this in this video you are going to learn in detail about nutrition both in plants and animals. Okay, so what is nutrition? Nutrition means to nourish. Okay, so nutrition means to nourish. So it is the process in which the food is consumed and utilized for nourishing the body. Okay, so here nutrition means the food what we take into our body, okay, is utilized for nourishing the body in order to provide energy, so that energy can be utilized to perform various activities. So once again, nutrition is a process in which the food is consumed and utilized for nourishing the body so that we can perform various activities. Okay, so what are those food materials which help in nourishing our body? Those food materials are called nutrients. So what are nutrients? Nutrients are the materials which are very essential for our body, for the survival. Okay, so the materials which constitute food and which are very essential for the survival of living beings are called nutrients. Okay, so what are the basic nutrients? The basic nutrients which are required to our body are carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins and minerals. So once again, the basic components or the nutrients required to our body for our survival, they are carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins and minerals. As you all know, carbohydrates and fats are energy producers. They are also called energy generators. Okay, they are the basic energy producing food which are required to our body. And the next one, proteins. Proteins are also called bodybuilders. They help in building up our body. They help in building up our muscles, tissues, bones. So the basic component for building a body or bodybuilders are called as proteins. And the next one is vitamins and minerals. Vitamins and minerals are said to be protective food. Okay, they help in boosting our immunity. They help in supporting our body development. So for all that, vitamins and minerals are very essential, and that's why they are called as protective food. Okay, the next concept is there are two types of nutrition, that is autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. So as you know, autotrophic nutrition which takes place in the plants. Okay, auto means self, trophic means feeding. So these organisms prepare their own food without depending upon others. So how do these organisms prepare their own food? They use some raw materials. What are those raw materials called? That is carbohydrates, that is carbon dioxide, water. The main source they need is sunlight, and to absorb sunlight they need the structures called chlorophyll, and with the carbon dioxide and water, okay, they prepare their own food, that is called glucose, or we call it as starch or carbohydrates. Okay, so plants use the raw materials like carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight. With the help of chlorophyll, they prepare the food. That food in the plants is called starch or carbohydrates, and along with that they release oxygen, and this process we call it as photosynthesis. So the process in which plants prepare their own food, that process is called photosynthesis. And you all know what are the raw materials required for photosynthesis, that is carbon dioxide and water, and the sources they need is sunlight, and the structures they need for absorbing the sunlight, that is chlorophyll. Okay, what is the equation for photosynthesis? That is 6CO2 plus 6H2O in the presence of sunlight. With the help of chlorophyll, they prepare food, that is carbohydrate C6H12O6 plus 6O2. To learn the photosynthetic process in plants in detail, we should know the structure of leaf. Okay students, the structure of leaf consists of upper epidermis, then you find inside mesophyll cells, And then the mesophyll cells consist of organelles called chloroplast, and these chloroplasts contains a green pigment called chlorophyll. Once again, to learn the photosynthetic process, you should know the structure of leaf, children. The structure of leaf, outer layer is called upper epidermis, or we call it as cuticle, because cuticle helps in protection of the plant from loss of water, and also it gives protection for the plant body. And below that you find mesophyll cells. The mesophyll cells consists of organelles called chloroplast, and these chloroplast contains the green pigment called chlorophyll, and it is this chlorophyll which helps in photosynthesis for absorption of sunlight and helps in preparing the food in plants, that is starch. And you can find at the lower epidermis you find many structures called stomata, and this stomata helps in exchange of gases. I told you plants take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen. So taking of carbon dioxide into the leaf and release of carbon dioxide once the food is prepared, that process or that function is taken up by stomata. So stomata plays a very important role in exchange of gases. And then we'll come to the next part. I think children, you have understood the nutrition in plants. So for nutrition in plants, you need to know what is photosynthesis, what are the raw materials required, and what helps in preparation of food in the plant, that is the sunlight and chlorophyll. We come to the next process, that is nutrition in animals. So when you study nutrition in animals, that is called heterotrophic nutrition. Heterotrophic nutrition you find in animals, where animals depend upon other organisms for their food. Okay, human beings, animals, all animals depend upon other organisms for their food. They depend upon the plants, they depend upon other organisms for their food. So they depend upon plant products as well as animal products, okay, like milk, meat, egg. So that's why animals are said to be heterotrophic, and they are called, the nutrition is called heterotrophic nutrition, and they are called heterotrophs. And you can study heterotrophic nutrition into three categories, that is holozoic organisms, saprophytic organisms, and parasitic organisms. So you can divide heterotrophic nutrition into three types: holozoic, saprophytic, and parasitic. So holozoic organisms are those where they take solid food as their digestive material. They take they depend upon solid food for their survival, and like man, lion, tiger, human, dog, all these are said to be holozoic in nature. Then if you say saprophytic, these are the organisms which depend upon dead and decaying matter. They depend upon dead and decaying matter, the decomposed matter like yeast, mushroom. Okay, these are said to be saprophytic in nature. The next one is parasitic. These are the organisms which depend upon other living organisms for their food, like leech, mosquito, tapeworm. Okay, these are said to be parasitic. Again, you can study holozoic nutrition into three types: herbivorous, carnivorous, and omnivorous. Herbivorous animals are the organisms which depend upon plant products. Okay, only they depend upon green plants like cow, goat, sheep. Carnivorous animals are flesh eaters. Okay, lion, tiger, cheetah. Omnivores are those both flesh as well as they depend upon flesh as well as plant producers. For example, human beings, then dog, cat, crow. These are said to be omnivores. Okay, then we'll come to the next part of nutrition, that is nutrition in animals. Okay, if you study nutrition in animals, so what are the steps involved in nutrition of animals? The first is ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and egestion. So what are the steps involved in nutrition of animals? Ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and egestion. What do you mean by ingestion? Ingestion means taking in the food. The food is taken into the body. And what do you mean by digestion? Once the food is taken, the food is broken down into simpler particles. Okay, the complex food is broken down into simple food particles. And then After the food is digested, the food is absorbed by the cells. We call it as absorption. Once the food is absorbed, it is distributed to all the parts of the body and also helps in production of the cells. We call it as assimilation. And then after that, the waste is thrown out from the body in the form of solid, liquid or gases. We call it as egestion. Understood, students? So the steps involved in this one, animal nutrition, is ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and egestion. So for your syllabus, you need to learn nutrition in man. So the nutrition in man includes two types, that is alimentary canal and digestive glands. So if you want to study the nutrition in man, you should know digestive system. So what does digestive system in human beings or man includes? It is alimentary canal and digestive glands. Okay, so what does alimentary canal includes? Alimentary canal starts from the mouth and end till anus. Okay, you all know, students, the alimentary canal length is around 9 meters. Okay, only the small intestine is around 6 meters in length and large intestine is around 1.5 meters in length, and the overall length of the alimentary canal is around 9 meters. You will be surprised why small intestine, though it is around 6 meters in length, but still we call it as small intestine, and large intestine is only 1.5 meters. Why do we call it as large? The name is given based on the thickness. Okay, the large intestine thickness is more when compared to small intestine. Okay, so the length of the alimentary canal is around 9 meters. Now, what is the anatomy of this alimentary canal? What are the parts of alimentary canal? Alimentary canal starts from mouth, then leads to buccal cavity, then esophagus, then stomach, then on to the stomach leads to duodenum, which continues into small intestine. The beginning of the small intestine, we call it as duodenum. On to duodenum, you can see liver. On to the liver, you find a small structure called gallbladder, and then you have pancreas, and then that is continued as small intestine. Small intestine is continued as large intestine. Large intestine, rectum and anus. At the end of the large intestine, you can find vermiform appendix. Okay, so this is these are the parts of alimentary canal. Now we'll see how actually the digestion takes place in human beings. To know the digestive process in human beings, you should know two types of digestions in man, that is mechanical digestion and chemical digestion. So what do you mean by mechanical digestion? In mechanical digestion, the food is broken down into simple particles with the help of teeth. The teeth we call it as mastication. The teeth breaks down the food into simpler particles, and it is added with the chemicals or enzymes produced in the mouth. That is called chemical digestion. So mechanical digestion and chemical digestion. So that is how the digestion in man takes place. So now we are going to see what are the enzymes or digestive glands related to digestive system. If you want to study the whole digestive process, you should know basically digestive glands. So where all these digestive glands are found in the digestive system. So you can see salivary glands in the mouth, gastric glands in the stomach, pancreatic glands or secretes pancreatic juice, and the liver is also a gland. Then you have in the small intestine, you have intestinal glands. So all these glands help in chemical digestion. Okay, now we shall learn about what are the juices and enzymes secreted out by the particular digestive glands. Okay, students, now the digestive glands play a very important role in digestive system. So from the mouth, what are the glands found and what are the juices and what are the enzymes found in them? We shall learn about what are the juices secreted in the mouth and what are those glands which help in secretion of juice in the mouth, and what are the enzymes. So in the mouth, so if you see mouth, so in the mouth you can see salivary glands. So there are 3 pairs of salivary glands. So upper jaw you have 1 pair of salivary gland, and at the lower jaw you have 2 pairs of salivary glands. the parotid gland in the upper jaw, sublingual gland in the lower jaw, and submaxillary gland. All these three pairs of glands help in secretion of an enzyme called salivary amylase. So salivary glands produce the juice called salivary juice. So what are those glands which produce salivary juice? Parotid gland, sublingual glands, and submaxillary glands. All these three glands help in production of salivary juice, and in that juice you can see enzymes called salivary amylase. Salivary amylase is also called as ptyalin. So what is the function of this salivary amylase? Once the food is taken into the mouth, the food is masticated, that is with the help of mechanical digestion. The food is broken down into simpler particles, and to that salivary juice is added. In the salivary juice you can see an enzyme called salivary amylase that converts starch into glucose. So what is the function of salivary amylase? It converts starch into glucose. And come to the next one. Once the food is made into simple particles, it is passed through buccal cavity and come through esophagus. In the esophagus you can see the esophagus has got muscular rings which helps in contraction and relaxation and helps in pushing the food into the stomach. That contraction and relaxation of the esophagus tube or food pipe, we call it as peristalsis or peristaltic movement. And then once the food is passed into the stomach, in the stomach there is gastric juice, there is production of gastric juice. So this gastric juice produces two types of enzymes, that is pepsin and renin. Along with that, even hydrochloric acid is produced and mucus is also secreted. So what is the function of pepsin? Pepsin converts proteins into simple proteins, that is amino acids. Pepsin converts proteins into simple proteins, that is amino acids. And then what is the function of renin? Renin is found in small children, in infants. So in small children, the milk protein, it is called casein, is converted into insoluble protein or curds. Milk protein is converted into insoluble protein, that is curds. Okay, then hydrochloric acid is also produced time to time in the stomach. So what is the function of this hydrochloric acid? It helps in destroying the microbes that enter into the stomach through food and water. Okay, the next is mucus. So what is the function of mucus? Mucus helps in lubrication of the internal wall of the stomach. To see that when high concentration of hydrochloric acid takes place, it leads to ulcers or wounds. To prevent that, this mucus secretion prevents ulcers or wounds by their lubrication. So that is the function of this mucus and enzymes. So pepsin helps in converting proteins into simple proteins, renin, milk protein into insoluble protein. Okay, now when the food is mixed or broken down with the help of enzymes, it is made into very fine paste, and then the food comes to the beginning of the intestine, that is called duodenum. So when the food comes to the duodenum, so you can see pancreas, the pancreatic duct is added, liver, the liver duct is added. Okay, so from the pancreas, pancreatic juice is added to the duodenum. Okay, so here pancreatic juice consists of many types of enzymes, that is amylase. You have to remember, wherever amylase is, right from the mouth, the function is to convert starch into glucose. And then it has got trypsin, an enzyme which converts proteins into simple proteins, that is amino acids or peptones. And then chymotrypsin, which converts proteins into simple proteins, that is peptones. And then lipase, which converts fats into fatty acids. So these are the enzymes found in the pancreatic juice. And then from the other side you can see liver, which is the largest gland of the body. On the liver you can see a small bladder called gallbladder. Once the bile juice is secreted, temporarily it is stored in the initial stage in the gallbladder. Then it is used, and bile juice is the only juice which doesn't have any enzymes. Then what does it has? Bile juice has bile salts and bile pigments. So bile pigments, bilirubin and biliverdin. So what is the function of this bile juice? It helps in emulsification or emulsifying the fats into simple fats. So for proper absorption. So that is the function of bile juice. Okay. Then once the bile juice is added from the liver and added from the pancreas, then the food is passed through the small into the small intestine. So small intestine is around 6 meters, which is totally coiled, and this small intestine also produces enzymes. Okay, so we can see small intestine also has many enzymes which helps in breaking down of starch, proteins and fats. So small intestine has process of breaking down process of starch also, proteins also and fats. So starch is broken down with the help of enzymes maltase. Maltase acts upon maltose sugar in the food and converts into glucose. Sucrase is the enzyme which acts upon sucrose and converts into glucose. Lactase is an enzyme which acts upon lactose and converts into glucose. And then proteins are converted with an enzyme called peptidase into simple proteins, that is amino acids. And then lipase is an enzyme which converts fats into fatty acids. So students, these are all the enzymes which are very basically important in the digestive process. Along with the alimentary canal, digestive glands play a very important role. In your exam, they are going to ask you what are the enzymes present in mouth, or what are the enzymes present in the stomach, pancreas and then in the small intestine. So all these enzymes helps in breaking the food into simple particles. That is called digestion. Digestion is the process of breaking down complex food into simple substances with the help of digestive enzymes. And finally, once the food is digested in the small intestine, large intestine plays an important role. We all large intestine is also called as colon, which helps in absorption of water and throwing out the waste matter, that is waste fecal matter. So that is the end of digestive system. So students, so this is about nutrition in plants and animals. You have any doubts in this, you can text me, and you can have some questions regarding to this video. That is, first thing is, what is nutrition? What are the types of nutrition? Second one, then draw a neat label diagram to show the digestive system in human beings. Then mention the digestive glands and the enzymes and their function. Mention the digestive glands, enzymes and their function. Okay friends, thank you.